All right, let's get started in reviewing your store. There's lots of feedback to give. Let's start at a product page level. So, not a fan of doing the alternative payment settings. Usually a checkbox in your theme, just because it makes it look like, hey, check out with this when you really want people to go through this process here, right? This product here has one image, right? But you've still got thumbnails turned on. Now, your store is very confusing in these little, not confusing, cluttered. Very cluttered with trademark things. You don't need these little TMs everywhere you use a trademark phrase. I would get rid of them. And now you see this image is also cropped here, right? So this is the full image, and I don't know if you actually have the print lines in your image. That would not be good. Um, but the image is cropped here, so you probably want to set up square images for all your products. It's a nice trade-off between desktop and phone. Now, reflection and gratitude guide. So I have no idea what this product is. I'm going to guess it's a manual of some sort, right? And you visually want to reinforce what it is. It seems to me like this is just a photo you use everywhere in your products, as opposed to a photo like it's. My guess is this is not the cover of the book. And if it's a guide or a book, um, you want to like have a little image of a guide or a book, right? So people know, oh, I'm getting this is what I'm getting, right? Even if it's a digital one, you want people to be able to visually look at it and go, oh, this I'm getting a book, an ebook, a workbook, right? So let's read the description. Reflection to Gratitude Guide. So that's the name of your guide. Okay, is your essential guide to self-reflection and gratitude. Wow. So the reflection and gratitude guide is your guide to reflection and gratitude, right? Completely useless sentence. This book outlines, so now it's a book, outlines critical components of these practices and shows, well, reflection and gratitude aren't necessarily practices, right? They could be, right? And shows how they can enhance your life with a companion workbook. So does that mean I'm getting two books? I'm getting the guide and the workbook. So you should be clear about that. If it's two books, you want to show two books in the product image. You can easily apply these techniques to live life to its fullest potential. Discover the power of looking back and making the most. Yeah, this is, I'm very frank about things. This is absolute garbage, right? This description does not help me at all, right? So, taking a step back, think about how you would explain this to somebody. Like literally just record yourself having a conversation, talking to somebody who knows nothing about your product, even if it's a hype, person in your mind, right? And how would you explain this to them? You probably want to take a step back and talk about, gratitude and reflection and how it improves blah 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 and what the practice of it means blah blah blah, right? I don't know any of the answers to these things. And then you talk about this foundation of gratitude and reflection and how they help things, and then you talk about, and so therefore we came up with this product that does these things. And who's it meant for? Is it someone who's been doing this for a generation, or is it someone who's never done it before, right? I doubt one book is going to be applicable for absolute newbies and perfectly and well experienced decades long people. So you want to help people understand what it is, what it is, right? And I don't think you're doing that here. And then who is it for, right? So I could see this being let's call this a paragraph. I could see your description being 5 paragraphs, twice the size of each of these paragraphs, right? And then you want to have photography of the book and of people who are using the book and living their happiness in every day, right? You always want to show some people if you can, and you might have like a little infographic or something that talks about the 5 benefits of the book, and then who came up with this content, right? Because the way I look at this right now, I'm like, oh, someone just put into Chat GPT, make me a reflection and gratitude guide. They spit the content out. Where I assume my guess is you didn't do that, right? So you as the store owner, let me see your name here. So I assume I'm talking to Steve, right? So, what you want to be talking about on that product page is, this is written by Steve after, living a life of gratitude or leading this clinic for 10 decades. He's written 13 books, best-selling author, New York Times, whatever the street cred is, because this book is about someone providing their expertise in a book format for other people. So who that person is to establish their expertise is an important part of the value prop of this book, right? I think that's all I'm going to talk about on that page for the moment. What's this though? Yeah, you don't need confusing things like that. Nobody shares crap. So let's add it to the cart. So you got this mini cart. It's kind of hard to see the mini cart because of the background and all. And Conrad, you might want to give a little background color to the mini cart, or take people straight to the cart page. Let's see what your cart page looks. So you don't have a cart page. You have a mini cart and a fly out cart. A little bit confusing. Oh no, we do have a cart page. So there's 3 different carts I just experienced. And this one here has a gray background and this blue color going on here, which is inconsistent from the other one. So you want to provide in colors, and we'll talk more about that a little later too, as much consistency as you can, right? So, for example, this gray background is nice to say, hey, you're in the cart. So the little mini cart here, you could have the same gray background, and the other cart that we saw a second ago would have the same gray background kind of thing. So there's consistency that I know that these are the different carts, but they're all carts kind of thing. And once again, I would recommend getting rid of the alternative payment methods. A little custom code to do that, but I would recommend that. Now, you're using this blue color for checkout. I like to make my cart and checkout buttons a bright red that matches the color scheme of your brand. But, and the only thing you have as that red button are cart and checkout buttons, right? Other buttons will have the blue color or something like that. So it's very clear to customers, hey, here's the action, we want you to take as you move down the funnel. Now let's look at your checkout experience. All right, so you got your logo up here. You got your color. Like I said, I would have that as a red brand color instead of a blue, but that's fine. You got policies. Let's see what these look like. So all sales are final. Okay. Well, I hear your policy, but I don't think this is true, right? Due to our printed items' customized and personal nature, I didn't see anything in that book that I was just looking at that is customized and personal. My guess is you're doing print on demand, therefore you don't want to do returns, and you might want to rethink that policy, or at least be more open and honest about it. We've got this little grammatical thing where there's a colon right there. You don't want to have any grammar mistakes or spelling mistakes on your site. There you got it again. And again. Now let's look at your shipping policy. This we currently ship to the United States only. Could be something. No, it's good there. I was going to say you could put it earlier on your site, or you could have some sort of modal that detects they're not in the United States and let them know you only ship to the United States. So, you get rid of that question early on if someone's like from UK or something, or in UK. Now let's see if I want to see if this is a real book or not, or if it's an ebook. Okay, so there's a shipping cost. So it is a real book, right? So I would definitely be showing photos of a real book. And maybe this is, this, when I look at it here, it actually looks like this might be the book cover. So I'm going to go back to that image. And maybe it's not, but I'm going to assume for a second it is, and we'll go back to that. Everything else looks fine here. Let me just check your privacy. Yep, you got your brand name in there. Let's see, have the address at the bottom. Yep, you got your address, so you're good there. So let's go back to this product here. So let's assume for a second this is the cover, right? if this is the cover, there's no author on it, right? And Grateful Day, so it seems to me like there's some brand confusion going on where this brand here is Gratitude Boutique, but I saw you had an app or something, and I think that's under the Grateful Day one. So you're going to want to have consistency in what brands you're presenting on the site, right? And it also looks like you've got purple as a brand color and blue as a brand color. And like here, right, your little Buddha or whatever this is, which by the way doesn't make sense to me. Like, do you have an Eastern background? Are you Eastern trained, Eastern philosophy or something like that? Or, is it just Steve who, grew up in Rhode Island or wherever, right? So if there is a connection back to Eastern, you want to make that here to give yourself that street cred, right? But looking at this Grateful Day image, I can't stand this thing changing on me. But right here before I hover, right, that icon has a gradation in its little blue background where this one doesn't. So little details like that and consistency of colors, right, it's going to make your brand seem tighter, right, and more professional kind of thing. Just like here, I've got this, this one's in purple, this one's in blue, this one's in blue. There's an inconsistency in those colors kind of thing. And like if these are your covers, and also you have an inconsistency here of on the hover, this one has a thank you, whatever. Why that's there, I have no idea, like a word thank you. But like this one has, and there's the Grateful Day app shown here, which is just going to confuse people. Like they see Grateful Day app, I'm not on Grateful Day app, I'm on Gratitude Boutique. So you want to reduce that confusion by not exposing people to those confusing things. But this one has a hover with a different image. This one has a hover with an expand. This one has a hover with an expand. So there's inconsistency that goes on there. Let's look at another product. So cards. Actionable Affirmations Deck 2. Once again, you got Grateful Day, not the brand that this store is under. Trademark not necessary. So you want someone to spend $40 on a deck of cards. Elevate your daily routine with actionable affirmations, perfect for anyone aiming for personal growth and transformation. The card deck Actionable Affirmations Deck 2 offers 52 powerful cards designed to empower you with actionable steps. Yeah, this is getting confusing. And inspiring so here we look. Actionable affirmations, actionable affirmations, actionable affirmations, right? So I like repeating words, to provide consistency and drive a point home. It's just too much here, right? Each card is packed with the tools needed to cultivate a positive mindset and create real change in your life. I think this is a very bold statement that you can't live up to. Each card is packed with tools. Correct me if I'm wrong. Each card has an expression, right? Or a task or something like that. Once again, this needs to be 10 times as long to explain the program, right? And what all of your products need and the store needs is customer testimonials or videos, right? What I'd love to see here is you on a video explaining how to use these cards, how you came up with it, how you use it. And I'd love to see video testimonials of customers who have used it and how it's improved, their mindset, improved their life, improved their whatever, right? Because this information is so light. These photos are kind of poor, and I'll get into that in a second too. More than kind of poor. So it looks like whoever built this website did it. This page here took 5 minutes, right? And if I'm going to be spending $39, $40 on something, you should be putting a little more effort into the presentation of it. And let me see the benefit of it. Right now we're talking about the deck, but what does the deck get me to? And show people that get to that destination. Your product is just a means to an end, right? So what you want to be talking about is obviously the means, of course, right? But also the end, right? What are we getting to? Even if it's not a hard stop end, but it's a journey, you still want to talk about what that journey or the experience, you're going to, the after of this product, right? So talking about photos, once again, we've got this problem with the cropping of the photos on your product, which might be a setting or something like that, but definitely work on those. Now, this font here, right, with this F touching the I, it's a little bit messy. I don't know if you did some kerning stuff in there, but we've got this font here. We've got this font here. So what you probably want is a brand font, and if you want a fancier font or something in your documents, but once again, consistency across those. And then this photo here doesn't show the whole thing, right? I can see some stuff over here. I don't know what that is. So it's hard to tell, actionable affirmations, deck 2. And also, where's deck 1? Do I need to do deck 1 before I do deck 2? Might be a question people ask. I assume this comes in what are these called? Garbanzo bags or something like that. And like, what is that? Boxing is really important, right? So I see this. And this looks like an iPad to me with some design. I don't understand what that has to do with what I'm doing here, right? And maybe there's an app or something that comes with it or something like that. I don't know, but it's not explained anywhere, right? And then I see this, and I'm like, oh, there's a cool little box that comes in. But it doesn't say that here, right? We should be talking about, this gets packaged in a nice little box with this sort of design on it to set this sort of feeling and tone. And it comes wrapped in a bag suitable for, gift giving, yada, 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 right? So, I like if this is the full package that you get showing that, but you should actually explain that this is the full package you get in text also, right? You want to think about delivering the same message 3 times, once in text, once in photos, and once in video, because everybody consumes content in a different way. So you want to give it in all the different ways, so no matter how you consume it, it's good for you. Yeah, so see here, I guess there's a daily task you're giving people. Do something small outside of your comfort zone today. And if that's the case, you should be talking about that. This is what this does. Not each card is packed with tools needed to cultivate a positive mindset and create real change in your life. Like, each card will, give you a goal for the day and a challenge to, rise up to meet that goal for the day, right? And then, if you're doing this, for 52 days, is it use it once and you're done with it after 52 days? Or do you start over again at 0? Like, am I spending $40 for 52 days of improvement? Or am I spending $40 and I get to get the benefit of this, dozens and dozens and dozens of times over kind of thing? It's just something, math that people are going to think about when they spend the money kind of thing. Yeah, just a little nit, right? There's no need to have that 0 there on the 20%. So let's talk about, so that's 2 of your products. Let me do one more product while we're at it here. So we did quotes, we did the books. Yeah, see here you're showing books in the covers. Not good photos once again, but at least you're showing the book. So let's look at this one. So this photo is better because it's not cropped, but I'm still missing the bottom edge. And it's still not good because it's all grainy, right? So if I zoom this out, because it's a small image. And so see what happens? This is the original size image, and it's not even cropped cleanly. It's different dimensions on cropping, so it's a really poor quality job of cropping on a really small image. So now I'm understanding this is actually the book cover, which my other product, that wasn't clear. This makes it really clear. So that's improvement. But you want a high quality, much larger image, because what's happening here, your real image is smaller than the theme wants to display it here, so it's scaling it up, and that's why it looks fuzzy, kind of thing, right? And I just want to add this to the cart. Yeah, see here you have the vendor, the brand being Gratitude Boutique, but here you have it being Grateful Day TM. So once again, you just got to rationalize that and a consistency in the logos, right? Now, if I look at this other image, is that just a page in the book? And you're going to want, going back to the font thing, you want some sort of consistency across them. So when I've got the cards and I've got the book, not that all the fonts have to be exactly the same, but if there's consistency in some of the fonts, like, and I guess there is with this font here, whichever one this is, the name of it's on the tip of my tongue. And it looked like the cards had that same font or pretty similar to it, kind of thing. So that consistency is a good thing if you're doing that. And it looks like you've got consistency on this color and this color, but you might want to make this font the same as this one, as like your heading font or something, to provide that consistency between your real physical products and your website. Once again, consistency in fonts are super important. So those are your products. Now let's talk about this page or the shopping experience. So before we get to this page, what I like to see in the header is nothing but shopping links, right? So there's no need for home. Products is a shopping link. About us is not, and contact us is not. So I would just want to see products, right? And what I recommend for you is I'm going to say that these are card decks, 1, 2, 3, 4. That says card decks, right? 5, 6. Then we have handbook, journal. It's never too late to thrive. I don't know what that is, right? So this one, it tells me it's a journal. This one tells me a journal. This one doesn't tell me what it is here on this page. So a mini booklet, right? So let me go back. It's a mini booklet. This is a guide. I'm going to call that similar to a mini booklet. Now, this is the Reflection and Gratitude workbook. Now, this thing mentioned a workbook. Is this the workbook that goes with this thing? And do they go together, or are they separate products, right? Because this one mentioned having a workbook, I believe, with a companion workbook. So if you're selling them separately, I would sell them together. I would sell them separately and together, right? So you want to do a bundle. So here, I assumed when I read this, the companion workbook was included in this package, right? Because it says with a companion workbook. You can easily apply. But the way that's phrased, I think you're actually saying, if you go buy the other thing, right? But that's not clear at all, right? So let's go here and see what this one says. I don't know what that is. That's horrible, right? Oh, it's just opening up the image. And yeah, see, you got these crop lines in here on these images. Let's see, why is that? Products, yeah, I don't know what's going on here, but something wacky's going on. That looks like the template and the theme is messed up there. But if you're going to sell these separate, I would also do a bundle where you sell them together, right? And so these are $23 each, so that would be $46. So maybe you sell it for $40 if you buy both of them. And there's a free Shopify app called Bundles that you can add. It's free, so that's nice. That would easily combine these two. So you could sell them separately and have the bundle combined also. So now, going back to what I was talking about, you got decks, journals, and guides, right? I'm going to call these 3 guides or programs, whatever you want to call them, right? So what I would do is I would have at the top level, card decks, journals, and guides or guidebooks or something like that, or guide programs, or whatever the right phrase for that is. And then one last one for Shop All, right? But here on this page, it's really hard for me to understand those different products and how they're different, as I was talking about, until I sit down and actually look at them all and think about it, right? And here I am on a large monitor and on a desktop looking at it, and I can kind of figure it out if I take 30 seconds. But on the phone, that would be impossible, right? You'd never be able to figure out all these differences, kind of things. So you want to help customers understand that, right? There's this, and this, right? So I would make these, 4 different, cards, card decks, journals, and guidebooks or guide programs, and then see all kind of thing. And then even on the see all, you might want to bucketize them with a heading up here of card decks, right? And then you show your 6 card decks, and then the next thing would be journals, and you show your 3 or 4 journals and that kind of thing to help people understand the differences between these products. Now, you definitely, remember I was talking about colors before. Your site has this blue thing going on, right? 2 shades of blue, and it's pretty consistent. Right? I was talking about consistency. 3 shades of blue, like this steel blue thing going on. And that's good. But then your products all have a purple color scheme, right? And so like I said, it looks like you've got this app thing, this other brand. So you got to rationalize that. So it's just confusing, and these TMs everywhere are just killing me, right? I got to see the TM everywhere. Just clutters things up, and there it is again. But the nice thing is you don't have a lot of products, right? So that's easy for you to make it clear what their choices are. Like if you were selling, if you're Amazon and you're looking at, gratitude journals, there's probably 500 of them, almost literally, right? But you've only got a couple of them. So now what you want to do on your, let's talk about journals, right? So we've got this journal, and maybe this handbook is one of these. Maybe that's a bundle or something. And if it is, you need to be clear by showing an image of two different things that are being bundled together here, right? In this journal, so here's the thing. I got 3 journals. Why would I buy this one over this one, right? And it might be, this one has a more classical feel with the, and if I'm writing, yeah, there you go, right? This one has a more classical feel, the traditional binding, blah, 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 right? The other one has the spiral bound, I think, right? And if that's the only difference, and they're just, blank sheets of paper. So the other one, it showed you the book open, you can see it's blank pages. This is missing that level of understanding for customers. But if one is a spiral bound and the other is, traditional book bound, and that's the big difference, explain that, right? So on that journal page, you might be saying, remember that top level journal page, you might say, we have 2 journals. One is, a classical book binding, and the other is, a spiral bound for, whatever type of different reasons, or why would one buy the other? Is it just aesthetic, or does this one, open better? I don't know, right? And then, so maybe you really only have 2 journals, right? But then there's a third option of getting the journal with the guide or something like that. But that way, if you break out, instead of just having 3 products listed, if you break it out and make it a page that shows 2 of the products and explain the differences between the 2 journals, and then show the third product as, and this is a journal bundled with a gratitude handbook, then it's clearer for people what they're getting, right? And you're guiding them, you're walking them through the process, and you're helping them make a decision at a time, right? Decision number 1, do you want decks or journals or guides, right? Oh, I want journals, so I click on that. Decision number 2, do you want spiral bound or book bound? Then you make that decision, or do you want spiral bound, book bound, or bundled with a program kind of thing? But you're making it clear to people what decisions they're making instead of just listing out the products. Let me just look at one of these for the fun of it. Yeah, I would also recommend, right, because here, right, I'm buying a physical deck of cards, I believe, right? And here I don't see any photo. It's just graphics, right? So, if I'm buying a deck of 52 cards, let's go back to the other one that had more photos. I think it was deck 2 we were looking at. Yeah, like this, right? So here, I would actually show all 52 of them, right? All stacked up, or so you can see you are getting this massive set of cards kind of thing. And here we got cropping issues, or white background issues. Here here the getting rid of the background, right, is hard up against the iPad, which, like I said, I don't know why that's even there. But here there's a shadow effect, and that shadow effect is underneath it, on top of it, and on the side of it. Like there's a lack of consistency there. But like I said, the nice thing is you can make this a lot more intuitive for people. Walk them through a step at a time what they're getting. Now, on all of that, what's not being explained here, and I kind of alluded to it a couple times, is what is the overall program, right? So do all of these products exist as independent, standalone, unrelated to the others? Or, is there a series that you walk through? Step 1, you do this. Step 2, you do this, right, kind of thing. So you might want to take a step back from the product view and do it more of a, here's the program view and what step are you on. Now, maybe you don't have steps, so maybe I'm, going in the wrong direction. But if there is some sort of overarching program experience sequencing that happens, explain that to people, right? So let's look now at your evergreen pages. Contact us. Horrible. We've introduced this new bright color. No, is it the same color as this one? Let's see. This color is 19B7F7. Yeah, see, this is a different color. So this is 19B7F7, and this is 14B6F7, right? Slightly different, but it's that level of detail that you want in consistency. Let's even look at this one. 14B6F7, which is the same as this blue, but not the same as this blue. Let's see, this blue over here. Yeah, that's the same. So this blue, and this blue. So it looks like in the theme, you're consistent in your application of your blue, but it doesn't match with your blue in your logo. Just look. Okay. So here, contact us. You can do a little more stuff here. Like, this is a good place to put a link to an FAQ. You don't have an FAQ yet, but you probably should, right? You could also talk a little bit about your customer support process. We're talking just a sentence or two. It's not a big, big thing, but you could say, hey, we're always here to help. Send us a note and we'll get back to you in 24 hours or next business day, or set some sort of expectation. Invite them, to encourage them to engage with you, kind of thing. But not a big deal. The contact us page is not the biggest one. Now this is an important page. I think it's really important for you. So let's look at it. Our vision. I hate vision. Because, and I haven't read yours yet, so I just hate the idea of vision. I'm going to read yours and then I'll tell you if I still hate it or not. But I'll tell you why I hate vision, and that is because most of them mean absolutely nothing, right? So let's see what yours is. Support and enhance your experience, helping you to connect deeply with your inner self. Yeah, I hate that. Because it doesn't. Here it is. About us. Us. This should be about people, not some anonymous corporate level garbage-y goo garbage, right? I want you to open up with this. Not even this. I want you to open up with Meet Steve, the founder of Gut Gratitude Community app, right, is a coach dedicated to helping others transform their lives through the power of gratitude. So this sounds good, right? Coach, helping others, but on this page, I don't see coaching or others, right? So yeah, here we got some Zen master out alone in on some big rock somewhere, right? Where what the Zen master needs to be doing is coaching people and helping others, right? So I want to see imagery of that, right? I want to see you giving a presentation to a group of people, or a class to a group of people, or you giving guidance and them smiling because they're happy with what you're saying and all that kind of stuff. So tell this story multiple ways. Once again, right? Put it in words, put it in video, put it in photos. Yeah, so there's also some logic missteps here, right? So Steve is a coach dedicated to helping others. His journey began when he used gratitude to overcome emotional, physical struggles of chronic illness. So that sounds good. Inspiring him to revamp his coaching program, right? If your journey began with this, it can't inspire you to revamp it because you don't have anything to revamp because you haven't started yet. It's a little nit point. Most people won't pick that up, but it's that level of detail, right? Now, therefore, we offer. So there was Steve, a person, and now we're in this anonymous group of people. So who is we, right? If there's more than one person, and by the way, Jade Puma, right? My company, one person. I show my face. I put it in my name, right? And I have a couple contractors and stuff, so I use the word us sometimes, but it's also like you're talking to Scott, and here it comes from Scott, and all that kind of stuff. Do not be afraid to be small. If you're just one person, do not use the word we. But here's the thing: if you are we, if it is a group, show them all, right? Tell each one of them's story, kind of thing, and because that breadth will give you more street cred also, right? So therefore, we offer a range of resources. Yeah, see, this needs to be about the people. About us is about the people. That's it, people. So here we talk about the person, and then here we talk about the company's products. Get rid of that garbage. Get rid of this garbage. Just talk about people, right? Now you can, right? Let's assume for a second that you have an overarching program here, right? I would also do a page about the program or about the journey, about our journey, about how we develop this, right? And I'll show you some real examples of this. Let's go to Healing Home Foods. So Healing Home Foods makes nutritious snacks, right, using raw food techniques. And here in their About page, you learn about Shelly, and she tells about how her son Jackson was on the spectrum and had dietary issues, and then her husband got cancer, and that inspired her to quit her Wall Street job and make food, make healthy food in Maine, right? She left New York, went to Maine, also, and all that's there. It's all about people, right? Nice family story, all that good stuff, right? And then we have another one, how we do it, right? This is about how they make their food, right? What makes us different. So they have raw food principles. They have, just whole clean ingredients. So one page for the people, one page for the process, right? And that's what I recommend for you is one page for the person or people, and then another page for the program. If there's this overarching thing, or like, here's our view on gratitude, right? Here's our view on, what's the other word? Gratitude and or something else. I don't know what it was, but reflection. Sorry, So are these reflection and gratitude things? Are they things that other people understand? Like there's like this guiding pillar of knowledge coming from somewhere, right? Is it the Buddha, and we studied the Buddha, and therefore blah blah blah? Like, what does this thing mean? Where does it come from? Is there a history beyond what Steve has done? And there's not. It's not a big deal, right? But if there is, then go ahead and show that and explain that to people. So that's your About Us. See if you have any other. So there's no other evergreen pages. Like I said, I would have an FAQ and about the program or process or philosophy or something like that. I would definitely have lots of video. You need customer reviews. You also need to show people, right? So this I'm assuming is a stock photo, right? This I'm assuming is a real photo of Steve. And once again, it's our journey and we. But if it's one person, have it be about one person. If it's multiple people, talk about the multiple of them. But I would have each multiple be their individual story, unless somehow they're combined, right? No need for the contact here. Enjoy our gratitude journal app. Yeah, incorporating this in, I think it's going to be a challenge, not a challenge, just take a little bit of work for you. So that's free, offers in-app purchases. So if I was you, I would put this in your product experience also, right? Encourage them to download this instead of just on the home page, because I actually, in this whole time I've been talking and looking at your website before, I never saw this, right? And it's because it's not in the navigation, it's not in the header, it's not in the footer. The only place it is 2/3 of the way down the homepage, and I just skimmed over it every time. So if this is part of your offering that people are going to engage with, which now I'm thinking because I saw that iPad somewhere before, maybe that's this app kind of thing, I would make that part of the holistic thing, right? Um, so you might up here have get our app as a link, and I would take that to a page which explains the app and then encourages them to download. Which is so this takes them straight to the app on Mac, and I'm on a Windows machine and I use an iPhone, right? So this isn't going to help me, is it? So you're going to want to have a page on your website that lets them pick their device, and maybe it's only available in the App Store, in iPhone. But if it's available on both, then you'll want to make a page, and I would still have a page on your website that talks about it. But I also saw you had a different website with the app stuff also, and you might want to just incorporate that into this experience, or all that. Even if you want separate stores or websites for whatever reason, you could still bring all that content into here also, so they don't have to go elsewhere to see that. And it might be, step one, get our app, as we talk about steps in the program, right? Step two, start journaling. Step three, become conscious about gratitude, right? Whatever those steps are. And if you don't have a program, I would make one, right? Because people love to be told what to do in order. They love to follow directions. So if you can give them a step one, step two, step three, step four, fabulous, right? Let's see here. You're using the new user stuff, so that's good. Okay. Now let's look at this. Gratitude Boutique, trademark. Cultivate gratitude and joy in everyday life. So one thing is, right, you've got this icon, which looks like an iPhone icon, and you don't have the word Gratitude Boutique in your logo. Now, if you're Nike, you can get away with that. If you're Apple, you can get away with that. If you're Gratitude Boutique, you can't get away with that. So up here, I would incorporate in your logo, and it might just be text, Gratitude Boutique, right, beside it. But I would put your name up here, so when people land on the website, let's go back to this one, right? Healing Home Foods, it says it right there. Any small brand is going to have their name in their logo, and you're not doing that yet. You basically have an icon here, not a logo, right? So I would put Gratitude Boutique up there, and you might do that in that font that is going to be distinctive for your brand, right? In a color that's going to be distinctive for your brand. And that way, you don't need to repeat this. Now, so then what you have is cultivate gratitude and joy in everyday life. This is not an e-commerce line, right? Let's go back to this one. Nutritious snacks. That's what they're selling, right? Now you could say, oh, we're selling cultivate gratitude and joy, but you're not, right? Because this is too generic. I like the direction it's going, don't get me wrong, right? But you need to focus it a little bit more, right? And explore our hand-picked selection of products designed to inspire daily joy and gratitude. Shop now and embrace the power of gratitude, right? That's redundant. This sentence is basically redundant with this sentence. What you want to do here, you don't check products, you see or shop or browse products. What you want to do here is, I call it a you are here sign. You want to put a stake in the ground, what you're selling, what the value prop of that is, how it's different from your competitors, and who is it for, right? Now, and you want to do that in 7 words or less, believe it or not. So, Healing Home Foods, nutritious snacks. Simple as that, right? Let's go to Reptichip. And they sell premium coconut substrate for reptiles and amphibians, right? Really clear what they do. If you're looking for food for reptiles and amphibians, you're in the wrong place. If you're looking for premium coconut substrate for mammals, you're in the wrong place, right? So they make it really clear what they're selling, who's it for, and who's it for kind of stuff. Now, here you can say, well, they're not saying who it's for and those kind of things, but they are talking about their differentiator, which is raw food techniques. So you have to figure out for you, what it is you're doing, who's it for, and how you're different. This is not differentiated, right? And I don't know what you sell by this. And you even say hand-picked selection of products. You're still not telling me what they are, right? Now, they're guides, they're journals, they're workbooks, they're cards, right? So, maybe it's, we have printed, materials that help you on your journey or your program or whatever kind of thing. But this is very vague and not clear enough. And even worse, right? This image is even more vague and less specific than the words are, right? So if instead what you had here was somebody using your product, writing in a journal, looking at a book, sharing a card with a friend or something like that, and they look happy and content, and there's better lighting instead of all this, then you can tell a little bit of a story of, we give you the tools to help you in your daily gratitude journey, something to that effect, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So let's go through your home page again. I would want, I call it a "You Are Here" sign that we just talked about. I would want your "You Are Here" sign. Our products I wouldn't have here. I would show the buckets we talked about up top of decks, journals, and guides and that kind of stuff, and maybe even your app. Now you've got your app separate underneath, so that's okay, but I would put the app up closer. I like the, about us here, but once again, same feedback about that image and about the way that text is. Multiple people and not a single person, but I don't know which one is right or wrong. No contact form needed. You do want an email sign up. You're not doing email sign up anywhere here. I would think that one of the things you could do is, you want an email sign up and you want a pop up to collect emails. I didn't see a pop up as we're coming in here, and because you're selling these paper goods, you could probably make a digital product pretty easily that you give away for people who sign up with their email address, right? So they sign up for your digital, guidebook or the mini program or whatever, you want to call it. And then now you have their email address. Now you can start marketing to them and, send them a series of 5 emails that explain your program one step at a time over a couple of weeks. And then, say, hey, now that you understand more about our program, why don't you get our guide here, and get 20% off, right, kind of thing. So collecting email addresses would be helpful in your marketing here. We already talked about needing reviews on your site, but what this site does is it lists some products. It does a poor job at listing them, does a poor job at selling them. What it needs to do is make people feel like they're joining a vibrant, rich community of similar-minded people on the same journey that they're on, right? So you need to shift away from this product-centric view to this people-centric and journey-centric and destination-centric view to really bring that to life, right? That's my Uber feedback in looking at this. And the nice thing is, like I said, a few times, right? You got all the pieces, right? You got the products. You got to take better photos and those kind of things. You're getting, video and all that kind of stuff. But, you've done the hard work of creating the products. Now you just got to wrap it up in a better storytelling on your website to make people understand the value of it and the richness behind it, right? So, it's a good problem to have, right? So, the website is an easier problem to solve than creating the products. So you've already done the hard work. Making the website do the things I'm talking about is not that hard. And that's about it for this feedback. All right, hopefully this was helpful, and I think we're talking a little bit later today. Bye.